What's up everybody, it's Drew Wilkins with Swine and Bovine Barbecue, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make some delicious homemade brats. So let's get going. The meat for our bratwurst is going to simply enough be pork butt. Traditionally it does have some veal in it, but we're keeping this simple. I had some pork butt that was left over from cutting up some pork steaks in the freezer. I had cubed it up, froze it in preparation for making some sort of sausage, so we're going to use it for this bratwurst. For our spices, we're going to go in with some kosher salt, ground white pepper, dried ground mustard, caraway seed, ground ginger, ground nutmeg, and a little bit of mace. Simply enough, we're going to mix everything, make sure it's nice and coated on the pork butt. The exact amounts of everything that I'm using here, including the meat, will be in the description of this video. This is also the portion where I cuss myself for not using a big enough mixing bowl and having to go nice and slow instead of just ramming through it in a big pot. Our meat is sufficiently coated in the spices, so we're going to put it in the freezer for probably 45 minutes to an hour. Let it get nice, firm, and cold. That way it grinds up real nicely. Our meat is sufficiently cooled. We also had this portion of the grinder, everything that's going to touch the meat, in the freezer as well. So just going to dump it on top, turn our grinder on, just add the meat. Now I like to grind twice. I find I get a better bind when I grind twice. So I'm going to put this meat through the grinder one time, and then we'll put the ground meat back through a second time, because we want everything to bind, and the milk powder we'll put in here in a second will help with that. But I found a little too often lately my sausages are really juicy when you snap them. It looks cool, but you want that juice to be contained within the meat, and I found that switching to a double grind really helps with that. Maybe I'm not mixing well enough by hand or with a meat mixer, but the double grind kind of takes care of a lot of that. So gonna simply put this through, we'll grind it up again, and then we'll case it. Our liquid component is a little different this time around for bratwurst. So we're gonna go in with some heavy cream, 10% of weight, no different there from a traditional sausage. We're also gonna add a couple of lightly beaten eggs. So we're gonna beat the eggs, we'll add the heavy cream to it, we'll add it to the sausage along with some milk powder and get to mixing. Using dry milk powder as a binder, so we're gonna go in with it. I use these tub liners. It can be a little bit of a pain and a little noisy while you're mixing, but my least favorite part about making sausage is the dishes, so one less thing to clean up when you use these. So gonna mix this milk powder in a little bit, then we'll add our heavy cream and eggs. Time to add the heavy cream and egg. Now we're gonna mix this up till we get a nice tacky bond. So when we hold our hand up, the meat will stay to it. So we've done a good bit of mixing, and as you can see, this is really sticking to my hand. So we're sufficiently mixed, got a nice bind, gonna throw it in the stuffer, then we'll link it up. So we've cased up a few links, got a little bit of a graveyard here that we're gonna have to add back to the stuffer from some busted links. But the way I like to link up, just we're going for some bun size links here. So just putting a little pressure on, obviously popped enough cases already today, so a little hesitant on how I'm doing it. But that looks about bun length to me. And the way I like to twist is I do them single sausage at a time, and then I go away from my body on the twist the first time around. So that way it's easy to remember, just away and then the next one's towards. So do the same thing. A little bit of pressure, not too much. That licks about bun length, so pinch, and then we'll go towards. That way you're not unraveling the casings on the sausages you've already made. I find I'm pretty good at doing that. So if you just go with the away towards method, then you'll know what link you're on and be able to do it. So pinch, away, and then this one's going to be a short one, so we're running out of casing, and towards. So I'm going to case the rest of these up, put these back in the stuffer, case those as well, and then I'll be back. our brats are all cased up, looking pretty good. Gonna throw them in the fridge, let the casings dry out a little bit. That way it attracts that grill flavor and smoke better instead of putting nice, wet, kind of almost slimy feeling brats directly on the grill. So once these casings have dried out, they'll be ready to grill. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and go fire up that grill. Grill is fired up. Used some leftover charcoal that I had from grilling steaks for family last night. Have our carbon steel skillet on. Gonna start with half a stick of butter. Let this melt down nicely. Got our butter nice and melted. A little brown, not a big deal though. We'll go in with our onions. Get them nice and sauteed. Move them off the heat for a little bit. That's some hot charcoal. So just gonna let these soften, moving them back off and on the heat as needed. Our onions have cooked down and reduced nicely, so we're gonna go in with a bottle of beer. Then add in our brats. Let them cook. That is one happy pan right there. Butter, onions, beer, and bratwurst just bubbling away. Not much to dislike about that. About 8 minutes in, we're gonna go ahead and give these a flip. Let them keep cooking. 8 minutes in on the other side here. I'm gonna temp one of these, make it the sacrificial lamb. We're at 142, so I'm gonna flip these, let them go a little bit longer, probably another minute or so. That should get us to the 155 internally we need for these to be done. These brats are ready to hit the grates, so gonna move this skillet off to the side, and we're gonna put them directly over the coals for a sear. Transparently, this is the second batch that I've cooked. Charcoal was way too hot on the first ones and they completely like split open and burst. It was ugly. So this is round number 2. That's why that charcoal looks a little lower. We're gonna benefit from it because the first fire was way too ripping hot and did not turn out well. But all we're going for here is a little color. We wanna try to keep them from bursting if at all possible. If they do, it's not the end of the world. As soon as we get some color on one side, we'll flip them. It doesn't take long to get much color. We're looking at maybe a minute right now. Yeah, we got a geyser. Let me go ahead and flip it now because we don't want to completely burst it. Get color on this side, we'll pull it. So I flipped them over again. Wanted to get a little more color on each side. We do have a little split right there, so I'm a little worried about that. But now we're going to flip them back over. So we got some more color on the original side. So those are looking pretty good. We'll get a little more color on this back side here, pull them, and then it's going to be time to eat. These are ready to pull, feeling incredibly firm. So got good color on both sides. Casings are starting to pop a bit. Pretty expected when you're grilling a brat, but it'd be nice if we could have kept that from happening, but they look great. I'm gonna let them rest for a little bit, but let's go prepare our sides. Our brats have cooled off, so let's put them together. We're gonna make 2 here. One more traditional, one the way I like to eat it. So we've got a big juicy brat. Gonna put it right in this bun. Same with this one. And we'll put our third one over here as a little side piece, that way it doesn't feel left out. And top it off with a little spicy brown mustard. For my preferred way, I love fresh white onions on brats, hot dogs, sausages, really anything. So I'm gonna go in with a healthy amount of fresh chopped white onion and then top it with a little spicy brown mustard. So waiting anticipation is done. We've done all the hard work. It's time to eat. We're gonna start with the sauerkraut and spicy brown mustard one. So cheers. It's super, super good. One of the reasons I wanted to do this is actually had a dream about bratwurst the other night. Went to the store to buy some, flipped over the package on the pre-packaged bratwurst that you can get. Not saying at your local meat market or whatever, but the pre-packaged stuff you find at your local grocery store. There's corn syrup and dextrose and all sorts of stuff that doesn't really belong in a sausage. And I already have all the stuff here I need to make it. So I said, what the heck? I've got leftover pork in the freezer, let's thaw it out and cook one. So it's well worth the effort of making your own brats. Such a clean, good tasting bratwurst, and it's super simple. It tastes like a brat, and it doesn't have all the stuff in it that you don't need that you get when you buy a prepackaged brat at the store. So Incredibly, incredibly good. That sauerkraut's good. This golden spicy brown mustard is delicious. If you like spicy mustard, give that a go. Love it. But the first one's delicious. Now let's get into it the way I like to eat it, which is with some white onion and mustard. That's it. I'm a simpleton. And I love onions. Like, love onions. So, cheers. It's an incredibly good version of a bratwurst. Clean, no fillers, no crap in it that you don't need. You saw everything that we put in it. It's just a really good bratwurst. So if you like bratwurst, can't recommend giving this one a shot enough. There's not really too much to add to it. Dress it up as you want. Eat it on a plate with some other stuff like a traditional German style dish. Put it in a bun. Eat it like I'm doing here today, but it's not that much work. Pretty dadgum cheap too, especially if you save rib trimmings. Like, part of what I put in here was rib trimmings. It was leftover pork butt from a pork steak. So it was just stuff I had lying around in the freezer. The only thing I had to buy was caraway seed and some heavy cream. Everything else I had. This is derived from the charcuterie book. I'll link that in this as well. Highly recommend it if you have any interest in sausage. I looked around the internet, I checked out Chud's video that he did. Always recommend him. He is the reason I even cook sausage. He does so much great stuff on his channel for sausage. So I'll link his bratwurst video if you want to check it out as well, because I certainly referenced that when I was putting this together. Really, really good. If you have the equipment, give it a go. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see me cook something next, please leave it in the comments down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. And if you do cook this, tag me on Instagram. My handle is @SwineandBovineBBQ. So thanks again. We'll catch you in the next one.